At the end of the month, Jane had worked hard. She had delivered outstanding projects to her clients, projects that she knew were going to be able to fund her business. Yet at the end of the month, she's still struggling to pay her bills. And she's wondering why. Did I spend too much? Did the client not pay? What is going on in my business? So then she did a little digging. She dug into her invoices and realized that the invoice was marked as sent, but was never actually sent. So if she had not checked, she could have been waiting months or even never collected this money because it would have been out of sight, out of mind. And maybe by the time she remembered to send the invoice, the client said, well, I've already accounted for this and I'm not paying that invoice. So she could have been doing all this work and yet never gotten paid. So today we're going to talk about a simple step that makes sure that you're maximizing the profit you're making from the business and setting yourself up for success with one task, which is the month-end checklist. So let's dive in. So some fundamental truths about making money in your business. It is not about the followers you have. It's not even about the work that you do. It's about one, making sure you're actually getting paid for the work that you're doing. And then two, it's about making sure you have an accurate view of your business so that you're not surprised by a dry pipeline, by clients canceling, by cash seemingly disappearing from your account that you don't know about, and a big tax bill. We want to make sure we have an accurate view of the reality and the truth in our business and make sure we are not dropping things because we're not paying attention. The power of a month-end checklist is that you have a standard set of tasks and things to look at so that you're always reconciling what has happened in the past, making sure it's accurate, and preparing for what's coming. The month-end checklist has 4 components to it. We are looking at your financials. We are looking at your sales in your pipeline. We are looking at your marketing visibility and brand building efforts. And then we are going to finally be looking at your calendar and your projects list to make sure all these things are getting done. So we're going to break these down one by one. So first step, finances. We want to make sure that we have an accurate view of our finances. So first question, did all of your invoices get sent? A lot of times clients get busy. If they don't have recurring invoice system or work on customized hourly things, you could forget to send an invoice. I've done it. Other of my clients have done it, but you might not notice for months. And by that time, you might feel embarrassed and not want to send it, and that's okay. But we want to make sure that at the end of the month, was all of our invoices been sent? 2, did all of the invoices get paid? Depending on how you send your invoices, your system may have automatic records to send reminders, but depending on who's paying your invoice and how they're paying and how you sent it, they might not get those reminders or they might have forgotten about them. So we want to follow up and say, are all the invoices that I expected to get paid based on terms, have they been paid? And do I need to follow up? And then 3, does your revenue and expense match what you expected? A lot of times I find that when we compare our expected revenue and expenses that maybe we maintain in a forecast, which I would encourage you all to do, to say, do I have a list of everyone that is supposed to pay me? Do I have a list of all the big expenses I'm supposed to pay? And are those accurate? But a lot of times I find in the system, maybe an invoice got recorded in the wrong place, or especially if you're using multiple accounts, maybe one of your accounts isn't being reconciled properly. Maybe that's the account you pay your contractors or vendors out of. And so your profit and loss statement in your financial systems might look incorrect or overinflated, or you're missing revenue. We want to make sure just it's accurate. Again, the way to make sure some of these things are accurate is both by looking in your invoicing system and making sure everything is accurate, but also comparing it to your financial forecast, which is just a list of all the projects you're doing, how much you either expected to get invoiced or invoiced, and did you receive that money? That way you can track and say, yeah, I did I send it or not send it, or did they pay me? But at least you have a list of all your active clients and active projects that you're actively tracking. So step 1 is financials. The second area is sales. So we want to be thinking about, who are we actively working with? Who have we worked with? who's our prospects that we want to work with, and make sure that we are planning for what can come. Again, we want to have an accurate view of our pipeline at the end of the month. So, one, who's up for renewal? So, the clients that you're maybe doing retainer work with, or project work with, or a short engagement with, who's ending in the next 1 or 2 months? Do I have time booked with them to talk about what's next, about extension, about the next project, about the next scope? We want to be thinking to ourselves all the time, how can we do more with the existing clients we have? By the way, this means that all of your clients need to be listed in a place somewhere where it's easy for you to keep track of who you're working with. So that's one. Two, which prospects, former clients, maybe referral partners need some attention? So again, we want to make sure that we are tracking all of our opportunities, our active clients, who we've worked with in the past, what potential opportunities we have from prospects or projects, and making sure we are touching base with them and adding value, checking in, serving them, being a strategic advisor on a regular basis, which means we need to have all of them logged in a system somewhere. And at the end of the month, say, when's the last time I talked to them? How stale is this opportunity? Did I send someone a proposal and they've ghosted me? I need to follow up on that and say, is this still a priority? Do we want to slot you in for a future time? It's really helpful to keep a list of all your active clients and their end dates and your prospect list so you can start planning. I have a client rolling off. I have time to slot in this next project. So, three, are all of my sales opportunities tracked? So we want to go back and say, who surfaced something? Who filled out an inquiry form? Who of my clients, current clients, said, I want to do some more work, or I'm thinking about this for next year? How do we have a list of all of those opportunities tracked? And at the end of the month, make sure we have an accurate sales stage and last contact date for all of those. Again, it's really important, especially if you're thinking about like future opportunities for like next year or a couple months down the line. Put that down. We want to keep track of those things so we can always be thinking about, do I have time set up for scoping? Do I need to send a follow-up email? Again, nice reminder. And then four, the heartbeat of a relationship-based sales business is building relationships. And that means potentially doing a fair amount of network building, outreach conversations, touching base with people in your network, being of service. How much of that do we do the last month? So go through your calendar, go through your text messages, go through your emails, or set it up in a CRM so that stuff is calculated for you, and say, how many people in my network did I reach out to? Who were they? Did anything come of that? And then look at your next coming month. Do I have any conversations scheduled at all? Do I know who I need to be touching base with? If we know this upfront in the month, we can start planning those out and making sure that if you are in a high business development mode, you probably need 10 to 20 connections, conversations a month to keep that going. Are any of those on the books? So again, for sales, we're looking at making sure we have an accurate view of our pipeline and when people are up for renewal, an accurate view of all of our opportunities, and a realistic view of how much network development and relationship building did I do. The next area we're going to look at is marketing. So again, we always want to be building our exposure to new people and making sure our brand becomes more visible. The way we do this a lot is by visibility events and email marketing and borrowing other people's audiences. So this is a great time to say, do I have any way to deepen relationships with individuals this month? Do I have a visibility event planned? Do I have a podcast that's about to come out? Do I have a workshop that I'm planning for, guest teaching? Making sure you have an accurate view of all of those events and making sure you're prepared. You might have pitched a lot of those things or need to pitch a lot of those things like collaboration, borrowing other people's audiences. So making sure that you keep track of all the opportunities you pitched. What got cold? What went stale? What said, oh, this sounds like a great idea, and they need you to do the follow-up. I promise the fortune is in the follow-up and the person that follows up regularly, not in the scammy, skeezy way, but in a way that says, oh yeah, I forgot about this because my inbox is overloaded. Thank you for reminding me. Let's get something on the book. That person is going to get the visibility opportunity, going to get the audience building opportunity. So again, keeping a list of all the places you pitched for collaborations, for publications, for guest writing, guest teaching, that's going to be really important to say at the end of the month, where do all those things stand? And how do I need to be in contact to keep moving those opportunities forward? And the last thing is making sure you have time on the calendar to do this type of work and also to do the business building work that's going to help make some of this work easier. So you say, Jessica, you have a financial forecast and you're making a list of all of the opportunities that you have for sales. You're keeping track of your outreaches. You're keeping track of your collaboration opportunities. I don't have any of these systems set up. Great. These are great projects that you can take on over time in your business, but you need time on the calendar to do it. So we want to look at our calendar for the next 2 months and say, is my calendar accurate? Do I have vacations coming up or birthdays coming up or holidays coming up that I didn't plan for that I need to? You might say, oh, I wanted to do all this work, but I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks, so I'm not going to plan to do much. You also want to look at your calendar from a really critical perspective and say, do I have 3 to 4 hours a week of time that I can block off to do this important work? And if you look at your calendar, you're like, well, I got this class here and I got this lesson here and I got these connection calls here and my calendar is just really busy. What are those things can you delete? What are those things you say, this is not actually that important right now? This event, while great and I want to show up for it, not critical in my business right now. Take the time at the end of the month to get an accurate view of your calendar and clear things off in advance so that you have time set aside for the business building projects that are going to move your business forward, or setting up some of these systems so that your month end process becomes easier. So at the end of the month, we want to look at 4 areas in our business to make sure we are accurately aware of what's happening. 1, finances. Did I collect and spend the money I expected? 2, sales. Do I have an accurate view of my pipeline, my opportunities, and do I have time planned to move those forward? 3, marketing and visibility and brand building. Do I have time planned to expand my brand to other people? And have I followed up and moved the ball forward on the opportunities to do collaborations and borrow other people's networks? And then 4, projects and calendar. Do I have time on the calendar to do these business projects and set up my business systems? So this sounds like kind of a lot, but once we get in the rhythm of keeping our client list, keeping our invoice list, keeping our opportunities list, keeping our pitches and collaboration list, once we get those systems set up, the month end checklist is simply a check. It's, did I keep up with things? This way we are cleaning it once a month and keeping things updated versus having to set things up from scratch. 30 minutes at the end of every month to set what happened last month, make sure it's accurate, to plan for the next one, is a game changer in your business because you're going to be accurate, you're not going to be surprised, and you're not going to be having to do a lot of cleanup. You're just going to stay in rhythm, stay in motion, and stay in impact. So if you want a copy of my checklist that I use with my clients, sign up for my email newsletter below. Let me know that you came from YouTube. I will send you a copy that I use for all my clients. Again, 30 minutes, end of the month, game changer in the impact in your business. And make sure to like and subscribe this video and let me know which of these areas you aren't currently tracking in your business that you want to. All right, thanks for being here.